given us the great honour of making this his first committee meeting as Chief Executive. You're welcome, Mr. Jimison.
Thank you, Convener.
Move on to the convener's opening statement. Welcome to this meeting of Inverglyde Council's Audit Committee. This meeting has been held remotely and also in person and will be filmed and recorded for live and subsequent broadcast, available through the Council's website. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and the Data Protection Act 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil our public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during the process will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policies available through the Council's website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meeting protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and that comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have also received invites to the meeting. Thank you for that. Lindsay.
No apologies for absence have been intimated. We'll now move to a roll call. Can the following members please indicate if they are present at the meeting, either in person or remotely? Councillor Clockerty.
Online. Isn't online.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Curley.
Present remotely.
Councillor Hellier.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Law.
Present remotely.
Councillor McCormick.
Present remotely.
Councillor Maguire.
Present.
Councillor McVeigh.
In chamber.
Councillor Nelson.
In chamber.
Councillor Reynolds.
Present remotely.
Councillor Wilson.
In the chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
We also have an apology from Ruth Biggs. Could you record that, please? We move on to agenda item number 2 under performance management. Internal audit progress report, 1st of January to 31st of March 2025. Andy.
Thanks, Chair. So this is just a regular internal audit progress report and the 24-25 audit plan. No reports have been finalised since the March Audit Committee meeting. The completion of field work for the 24-25 audit plan has regained some momentum over the last few months. It's anticipated that the majority of the plan will be completed by the 30th of June. There are 2 audits which will now be deferred to a future audit plan. Firstly, the review of supplier management. There has been reviewed guidance and it's being piloted at the moment, and the results of the pilot will then be reviewed and any changes will be made to the guidance before implementation. It's anticipated this audit will therefore be carried forward to the end of 25-26 audit plan to allow some time for the new guidance to bed in within services. Secondly, the review of catering stock control will be deferred to a future audit plan due to an external review of catering currently being undertaken by APSI. This will include stock control as an area within the review. The audit risk universe will be updated for the results of this review once the report has been received. In relation to internal audit action plans, there were 4 actions due for completion by the 31st of March. 3 of which have been reported as completed, and the completion date for 1 action has been revised. This relates to the delayed discharge audit, and management comments are documented at section 4 of Appendix 2. Happy to answer any questions on the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions? Councillor McVeigh.
Thank you, Convener. Andy, I'm looking at the audit plan 24-25, and you touched on it slightly there, but for only 3 actions reports being completed, one transformed to 24-25. I'm just looking for some understanding of why it's only 3 at this moment in time, and is it something we or you yourself should be concerned about moving forward? Thank you.
Through yourself, Chair. So the start of the year, the team were still working on the completing the 23-24 audit plan, and the 24-25 audit plan came to the June Audit Committee. So there's just been some issues. Obviously, I was off for 5 months of the year, which obviously delayed some of the management and oversight of the audit plan. Now, it just took longer for that to be completed. But since I've been back, the team has regained momentum. There's read two further audit reports finalised just in recent weeks. So I'm confident that the field work for the 24-25 plan will be reported to the June committee meeting as complete.
Okay, Tommy. I don't see any questions in the room. I don't see anything online. Thank you for that. Move on to agenda item number 3, external audit action plans, current actions. Andy.
Thanks through yourself, Chair. So there were no external audit action plans due for completion by the 31st of March. There are 7 current actions being progressed by officers, and officers are present today if there's any questions from members. Thank you, Chair.
Any question on agenda item number 3? I don't see anything in the chamber. Anything online? I can't see through Councillor Nelson's head. Thank you. There's nothing online. In that case, are we happy to agree the report?
Agreed.
Thank you, everybody. Agenda item number 4, new business. On page 31 is the Global Internal Audit Standards Update. Andy.
Thanks, Chair. So this report updates Audit Committee members on the new global internal audit standards for the UK public sector, which applied from the 1st of April 2025. A transition plan is being developed to ensure that new standards are implemented by the 31st of March 2026, and regular updates will be provided to Audit Committee on progress. There will also be relevant briefings provided to senior management and members as required. The report sets out the high-level implications in terms of the standards as they move from the current public sector internal audit standards, but the Council's internal audit service is well positioned to apply the new global internal audit standards. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Andy. Any questions on this agenda item?
No.
I don't see anything in the room. I see nothing online. We recommended to consider the notes and contents of this report and anticipate that further updated reports will be provided during 25-26 in relation to the new global internal audit standards. Are we happy to agree that recommendation?
Agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5, external audit plan for the year ending 31st of March 25. Matt.
Thank you. This is touched on the external audit plan to be plan to progress the audit this year. We have Michael will be with KPMG will be taking some of the detail on I've spoken. So let's say from our house point of view, we don't think this is broadly in line with last year. It's very close to last year's plan. There's one addition, so there's a new accounting standard on recognition of leases in our balance sheet. We reported that this time, and we have said we look at that, I was expecting, so we'll consider that either. But Michael will be able to take the public detail.
Thank you. Michael, welcome to our meeting. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll just summarise some of the key points and then happy to take questions. Page 3 of the PDF, of our document, or 6 of the PDF, sets out an introduction, which is that this is the outline audit strategy. It is presented by myself as engagement partner with continued responsibility ultimately for issuing an opinion on the Council's financial statements and our conclusions in respect of the wider scope areas of public audit, both under appointment by Audit Scotland and the Accounts Commission. It's presented as draft or indicative at this stage, as aspects of our planning and risk assessment work are ongoing, as would ordinarily be the case at this point in time. Using page 4 of our document sets out the details of the calculation of indicative materiality. That's an important number which drives the extent of audit testing and is essentially my estimation of the threshold which would affect primary users of the financial statements in terms of their judgments and actions. It's based on 2% of total group expenditure, being around £8.6 million. Although I designed procedures to detect errors or misstatement at a lower level of around £6.4 million. And ultimately, when reporting back to this committee, will summarise any errors which individually or in aggregate exceed £430,000. That said, if I consider that something is material by its nature, I would also report that back to committee. So, for example, an identified fraud or something involving senior remuneration, for example. Page 5 of our document summarises the significant audit risks and other audit focus areas. Significant audit risk is also an important definition in terms of audit standards, and again requires a certain amount of audit testing, particularly that we consider the controls that management have to ensure the accuracy of those areas, as well as substantive testing. The first two on that page are included because of the underlying level of judgment that's inherent in the numbers that ultimately are included in the financial statements. That's the valuation of land and buildings and the valuation of retirement benefit or pension obligations. Both of those are driven by assumptions that are chosen by management and approved by those charged with governance, and ultimately used to drive the numbers that are reported. The next two significant risks are presumed to exist in any audit. The first being related to the risk of fraud by management in manipulating when income or expenditure is recorded in the financial statements. Because of the nature of the council's income, typically being for the financial year in question, I expect to rebut that risk, but I do accept that a risk remains in respect of expenditure recognition. And the second is the presumed risk that management is in a unique position to be able to commit fraud by overriding controls, and I accept that as a risk on all audits that I undertake. The one other audit focus area included, as reference, relates to the implementation of IFRS 16 by the Council for the first time this year, and the need for it to consider lease arrangements that already exist and whether they are to be accounted for differently this year in the financial statements. The second part of the audit strategy summarises the approach to the wider scope. So that's typically the non-numerical areas of the financial statements, as well as the operations of the council. That's financial management and sustainability, vision, leadership and governance, and use of resources to improve outcomes. I have not identified any specific significant risks in those areas, but there is one thematic area which is selected annually by the Accounts Commission, and this year that is service transformation, which will therefore be a separate focus of our reporting and result in a separate report back to this committee ultimately at the end of our work. The remainder of my strategy really just includes some standard confirmations, such as our independence, our audit fee, and there are no additional matters that I need to draw to members' attention.
Michael, you said, what transformation did you mention there that's going to be an extra thing in this audit?
So the focus area selected by the Accounts Commission this year is service transformation.
Service transformation.
And how that is being used to maintain and improve outcomes.
What does service transformation mean?
So it's a broad definition, but essentially it will be considered based on a set number of prompts that are outlined by Audit Scotland across all local authority audits this year. Largely, it means how councils themselves are looking to change in order to continue to meet the ever-increasing demands that are placed on them. That could be different for each local authority. For example, structural change, service change, ways of interacting with communities. It really is unique to each local authority.
Thank you, Michael. Now, Matt and Andy, are we comfortable with that? With our contribution to it? I've got a nod. I've got a nod from Angela as well. Thank you. I note your audit fees. It's good to know these before we start. Thank you. Could I ask another question, Matt, and you, Michael? When would you propose the final accounts would come to full council for agreement by full council?
The Audit Committee last Thursday in June. Michael's team will work through the audit during July and August and early September, and we would certainly aim, as we did last year, to try and get to the end of September. We had one technical issue last year, we delayed that. Other than that, I don't think we're far up in September last year. We would certainly be aiming for September this year again.
So aiming for September full council. Fine, thank you for that. Colleagues, any questions for Michael or Matt? Councillor McVeigh.
Thank you, Convener. That's a question for Michael. Michael, I know Glasgow had been graded as red for financial sustainability and also vision, leadership and governance by their external auditors. Could you give us an indication of where we would be under the traffic light system?
I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment at this stage. This document sets out our planned approach to consideration of those areas. And KPMG style has not ordinarily been the approach of RAG rating the areas, but rather giving our narrative conclusions, highlighting any recommendations and good practice areas.
Okay, thanks, Convener.
Okay, Tommy. Any other questions? Don't see anybody in the chamber and nothing online. We are asked, colleagues, at 2.1, it's recommended that having sought clarification on any relevant matters, the committee note the contents of the external audit plan for the year ended 31st of March 25. Are we happy with that recommendation?
Agree.
Thank you. Now,